Oh my gosh, we're back.
Semi-woo. We are back.
Missed you.
We missed you. We missed our audience a lot. I don't know who to talk to if I'm not talking to my audience. Tell you what,
Hey, Amanda, I miss you.
I miss you a lot.
I haven't seen you in a while. Actually, Semi-Woo listeners, we are coming at you from two different locations.
I wonder if they can tell. I wonder if they can tell where I'm at. Yes, Amanda is currently in Orange County, sitting in a parking lot of Starbucks, stealing their Wi-Fi.
That's very, very Orange County of you.
It is, I know. And it's for me. But the traveler side of me did not buy anything. Instead, I'm sitting in my car and using their Wi-Fi. Thanks, Starbucks.
Straight up.
Heather, where are you? Where are you in this world?
I am sitting in a dark little room in Seattle, which is very Seattle of me.
It is very Seattle.
In front of my computer.
Are you thinking deep thoughts and writing crazy indie songs?
Listening to a little Kurt Cobain, thinking about existentialism and why I do this to myself every year.
If Kurt Cobain came back from the dead and the first thing he heard was Kurt Cobain, he would just kill himself again.
He'd kill himself again. He'd be like, nothing's changed.
He's like, no, that's the right decision. That was definitely the right decision.
Right. Yeah, no, I need to die.
I'm just going to go back there. I'm just going to go back to that. We love you, Kurt. No feelings hurt, guys. No feelings hurt.
No hard feels.
Here's the thing about a podcast, or actually saying anything that is broadcast anywhere, is someone can just take chunks of your words and be like, can you believe they said this? I think we're going to have a few of those moments. Whatever. Kurt, we would love you back.
There's certain sentences that we say. You don't even have to take a few words and skew them.
Oh, no.
We have a lot of hot button sentences that could get us into trouble. But when you have a president like Donald Trump, there's not tons of shockers anymore that people say. It has really taken a lot of the fun out of shocking people.
He really has. Yeah, I was thinking that the other day. It's like less and less over the past, whatever it's been, I don't know how many months he's been in office. People are like, the last one was like, oh, him and Kim Jong-un are talking about how big their nuclear buttons are and mine's bigger and stuff, and like comparing nuclear buttons to their dicks, basically. And that was around for like, a half a day. They're like, oh yeah, that's fine. Can you imagine if any other president was talking about like comparing a nuclear button to his dick on Twitter? Like,
I have to say no.
No, that's why we can't. Thanks, Trump. Thanks, Trump. It's like, thanks, Obama. Now Trump took away the right to, or the ability to shock anyone with anything.
I'm wondering how the stand-up comedian circuit is now. You can't do rape jokes.
Nope.
And it's hard to outshock Donald Trump. So where do you go?
You know what's funny? Okay, so we'll do some little razzle-dazzling with everybody. Since Heather and I have been away, we miss our little razzle-dazzle that we do between each other. But, so I was watching the other day 10 Things I Hate About You, which I'm pretty sure has been at least 15 years or so since that movie came out. And with everything that's been going on this year and kind of in the last few years with, like, people paying attention to rape culture and the patriarchy and how women are being treated and actually waking up to like all of the injustices that we suffer probably from the time we're about 9 years old and on. You watch older movies, even ones like there's obvious ones, right? Where you're like, oh, Pretty in Pink has a rape scene. There's more kind of obvious ones from the 80s. But there's these ones in the 90s, 2000s where you're like, oh, in my head, I wouldn't have thought 10 Things I Hate About You had anything that was like iffy. There was, like, some pretty, iffy sexual things going on where you're like, they couldn't make this movie today. But then you start to think, like, oh, no, what can they make today? Because it's like, you really, like, she flashes the teacher.
Is that a lot of that's real-life shit.
I know. And a lot of it's just jokes and stuff like, oh, put her in your spank bank and like things like that. A lot of it's just like teenage jokes. But you have to be real careful today because if they lean to the side of like, harassment and sexism, it's like, it's just not that funny anymore. It's like some of the jokes I was like, ooh, that's like not funny. And I'm wishing I could remember.
To joke about.
Yeah. Some things are still funny to joke about, but some are not. Like, thanks, liberals. Just kidding.
These liberals are taking all the joy out of life. Now we can't laugh about someone's inability to say no when someone's having sex with them. Oh, God.
What am I going to laugh about now, liberals? God.
Wait a few minutes. They always say, my grandma always told me, wait 10 minutes, and before you know it, you can joke about rape again. And so we're going to sit tight and wait so we can do it again.
Wait 10 minutes. Oh my God. I love it.
Okay, so we haven't done an episode together since October.
That's crazy.
I was cranking out a few episodes of some movers and shakers here in the woo world in Seattle. But since then, Amanda, update us. Like, what have you been even doing? Where have you been?
It's a good question. I get that one a lot, and I have kind of a blank stare sometimes when people ask me that. But yeah, so over the last few months, basically, I was in Mexico, so all over Mexico. I'll kind of talk a little bit about what I was doing there. In my home country, in Mexico, in my country.
Bring a little heat in that passport.
I'm bringing a little heat in my passport because I love it there. I love this country. Any accent I do with Mexico or anything, any sort of like anything to do with Mexico is just like from the deepest love in my heart. I can't explain to you how I feel like
to us that we were racist because we love Mexico from the bottom of our corazones.
More than anything.
Okay.
If anything, I'm racist against Americans or whatever ist against Americans.
We're racist, not against
North Americans way more than Mexicans because Mexicans are way better in my book. And then I was in Jamaica to facilitate the first time I was ever invited to facilitate a plant medicine retreat. It was a psilocybin mushroom plant medicine retreats. Definitely woo, but I'll actually get into that maybe it wasn't too woo. To tell you the truth, it was a little bit more modern than it was woo.
A little more moo.
But it was a little bit momo and not too woo.
Wait, how long were you in Mexico and then how long were you in Jamaica?
Yes, so I was in Mexico about a month and a half, and Jamaica for about 2 weeks. And what I was doing in Mexico is initially I went down there. I was leaving Seattle, and I got invited by the leader of Gaia Sagrada, which is the Echo Retreat, Ayahuasca, and San Pedro retreat center that I work at in Ecuador. The leader, Christine Brice, invited me to down to an area near Puerto Vallarta because her kind of tribe of people, like the native people that they like carry the medicine, which means they have dominion, like their church has dominion over who can be a shaman, like who has passed through all of the years of training and years of vision quests. And so she was becoming a shaman, and she wanted me to come down there and come to this 2-week kind of vision quest and ceremony space so I could, just be with her and witness her becoming a shaman after she's been practicing working with these medicines for over 25 years. So that was a huge honor. And I said, of course, I'm going to come down. And so she said, well, you should do a vision quest while you're here. You should do a 4-day vision quest. So when she first told me, I'm like, absolutely, that sounds great. Oh my God, I'm going to get a vision. It's going to be so questy. Yes, definitely. That was my first reaction.
I'm in.
Of course. But then you start to look into it and you realize, vision quests they're native to a lot of different North and South American and a lot of different native cultures. But kind of the traditional Lakota vision quest is 4 days, no food, no water, no talking, no singing, no nothing, right? Alone, like all you can have is a sleeping bag, like no bed, no pillows, no nothing. And you're just like,
I was thinking of like a California treat yourself, detox, like get skinny, just get the booze out, get the rosé out, 2 days. Just massages.
Listen, put down your Zanny bars and come join us for 4 days.
Zanny bar, lose a few lbs, return to your zen.
What's funny, when I started Googling vision quests, of course there's those, right? Like, for only $4,000, come to Sedona, Arizona for 7 long days of bliss. It's like this Native American ritual is ceremonial and traditional in all of its ceremony. It's super
You deserve to be your best self in 2018.
Yeah, exactly. So here's what's funny. So I ended up going to, initially, I was like, all right, I got a week or so before I got to get to this vision quest. I'm preparing myself. You have to make these prayer ties, which are basically little pieces of red material that you put tobacco inside of, and each one of them you make a prayer for anything. Yourself, your family, your life, the world, like anything you can think of, right? Each individual prayer tie is a different prayer. So you have to do 365 of these things, these little guys. So I was like, okay, I'm going to spend a few weeks down in Baja visiting my good friend Grace, who I used to live with. And she just bought a home about 6 months ago near Todos Santos, which is like right near the tip of the end of Baja. Beautiful place. Like, I ended up spending 2 weeks there, totally blissed out. Nothing but just nature, ocean, animals, creepy crawlers. Definitely got into the insect world, which was good because I said I'm going on a vision quest. Got to get used to these guys. And while I was there, this is a little preview of season 2. Grace is a biomagnetic healer. So she works with magnets, super woo-woo. And she has healed skin cancer, breast cancer. In me, she healed strep throat that I used to have hidden in my knee. Crazy interesting stuff. I have an entire podcast episode coming up in season 2 with Miss Grace Antiano. Very, very interesting, this technology, how it came about, and why modern science does not like it, of course. They never do. And so I'm in Baja and getting ready for this vision quest. I'm really excited. I finish up my things, and my good friend Adam from Seattle a few weeks before had decided that he wanted to do a vision quest also. So I'm like, well, you know what? It might be nice to, have him there too. And so he meets me with Christine and another friend of ours. We all meet in Puerto Vallarta. And the next day we're going to the vision quest. And we're all excited and we're ready to go and we're prepared. We have our prayer ties. We have everything. Now, here's where things go a little bit off the rails.
Here's where it gets weird.
Excuse me. So we arrived to this property. Like I said, it's about 2 hours, kind of in the deserty-ish, jungle-y area outside of Puerto Vallarta. Extremely hot, extremely humid. And this is kind of the beginning of October, or end of October, I think. And we get there, and quite basically, it was just the most unwelcoming, cold place I had ever really been in any sort of this kind of medicine world. Which is strange.
That's not what you expect.
Not at all. And especially from this man, I won't say his name, but this man has this history kind of in this world of being this huge leader, and he's, was passed down from the elders, and he's so intelligent, and, he's respected all over the world, and he does vision quests everywhere, and he gives out, basically his church gives out the right to be a shaman. So it's like a huge deal. So I was like, okay, I need to give this a chance. I'm probably just nervous, I kind of shook his hand. He wouldn't really look at me. But what I felt really strange was that the other people that were there from all over the world, people from Finland and Sweden and Australia, all over the world to do this vision quest, everyone was just cold. No one was saying hi. No one was really talking. So I was
like attracted cold people.
It kind of attracted... It kind of attracted cold people. So again, the first day I was like, I'm probably just freaking out. I'm freaking myself out. Not everybody needs to be sunshine and rainbows all the time. Who cares? Let's just get this on with. So that night we're having a ceremony. Now, the funniest thing about this place is that there was just no guidance. There wasn't an orientation. There wasn't a person who was the leader who you could say hey, when is this thing? You just had to know or something. And there was one person who kind of knew, sometimes she would know, hey, when are we supposed to be here? She's like, I think this time, maybe. So it was just very loose and disorganized. And because of that organized feeling, I was getting really nervous about being on a mountain in sweltering heat for 4 days with no water and food. That's not...
I would be too.
Yeah.
That doesn't track.
I think, first of all, my whole family and most of my friends, other than the people that really know me, thought I was just going to die anyway. They're like, oh, you're just going to die. And so I was like, no, it's totally safe. And they look after you, and it's fine, and everybody does it, and they don't die. It's okay. But then when
Which is true.
it is true. But then I get there, and I was like, there's no protection. They don't watch you with binoculars to make sure you're not dead, or like that an animal hasn't gotten you. Like, you're just up there, and they're like, good luck, and we'll be praying for you. So
maybe. I mean, who knows this group?
Who knows? Right? Who knows with this group that doesn't seem very. And I think for me too, it was also like part of not only like paying to do this, but being there with these people. Is I was looking forward so much to getting like this inside scoop on vision quests, right? Like, there really is not that much information online about much more than just like the vague purpose. Like, kind of like, okay, if you're at a point in your life where you need some clarity or to get a vision from the spirits, like, that's what you do. So I was really looking forward to like, here's the tradition, here's why we follow it, you know, like, this is what you can expect, kind of just like anything. Never heard anything about it. So we go into this ceremony at night, which I didn't know when it was. I just show up and I'm like, okay, I'm in the ceremony. And it's all in Spanish, even though there was tons of English speakers there. They didn't have a translator, so that was also cool. So we're kind of just listening to, and I could hear a word here and there of my broken Spanish of what was going on, but not much. Someone had told me, I'd overheard, you know, just trying to listen into conversations, that we would be having peyote and then ayahuasca. So... Damn,
you're going to want to know that.
Information that could have been brought to my attention yesterday, as they say. Definitely. Or with ayahuasca 2 weeks ago, or a month ago, right? Because, as we've talked about before, with ayahuasca, like, there's a certain diet, you need to mentally prepare, you need to prepare your body. It's not something you just go like, hey, you want some, and drink it. It's definitely...
Let's pop some iodine. No, it takes preparation.
No, definitely not like that. It's not like your Zanny bars.
So, I don't know what a Zanny bar is, but I love saying it.
Zanny bar. Wait, you said you don't know what it is?
No.
Oh, it's a Xanax. It's like a whole bar of Xanax.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of them in a row.
Is it like a freaking kudo-sized bar?
You know those little candies? Like they look like Pez. They're like tiny little Pez that are all connected.
And you take the whole bar?
I don't know. Apparently people do. That's why they call them Zanny bars. Or people be like, I had a half a bar last night. I didn't remember anything.
That would lay you out.
What's the point? Dumb. Anyway, so here I'm about to take the opposite of that, which is like having some
unannounced
crazy
ayahuasca ceremonies.
So I'm in the unannounced ayahuasca ceremony. Everyone starts like, they pass out all this tobacco and everyone's making cigars out of it. No clue. I didn't go to the cigar making orientation either. Don't know how to do that. Have no clue why all these other people who've never been here know how to do it. It was such a weird feeling. I was almost laughing. I'm like, this is just insane how unprepared and unwelcome I feel at this place, right? So we get into the ceremony. They pass around the peyote. It's on a little tray, and you get a little piece. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to eat my piece of peyote. And I understood in my broken Spanish that with the ayahuasca, you're supposed to drink whatever you feel is right. But, you know, like some people were drinking a half a cup or a whole cup. So it comes around, and I was like, hell no, I ain't drinking a whole cup of ayahuasca right now. Like, I'm not ready. I've been traveling for 4 days. Oh, by the way, this ceremony's all night long. You're awake. Then you get up, you take your stuff, and go to the mountain. So, like, no sleep before this. Oh, I'm sorry, you do a sweat lodge before you go to the mountain.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, just, you know, stay up all night, drink ayahuasca, go into a sweat lodge, and then go sit on a mountain and don't eat and drink for 4 days. NBD.
Done it. I do it every weekend.
It's fine. Just do it. Big deal. You'll be fine. So they pass it around. I take the tiniest bit, and I was like, thank you, ayahuasca. I kind of, like, prayed over it. I'm like, I'm sorry I'm not completely prepared to, you know, drink you, but, like, thank you for being here with me, etc. The ceremony's okay. They kind of pass this drum around, and everyone knows a song. Everyone knows a different song. They all know
Didn't you know? You were prepared song-wise, right?
No.
I remember you practicing.
The one song I know is Desde Lejos. Desde Lejos. Oh, I go. Someone already sang that.
You Desde Lejos again, baby.
I'm about to Desde. I sang my own song. And you know what song I sang? Everybody was singing in Spanish. I sang an English song from my friend Kate, who sang me a song about the Shadow song. And I sang it proud, and I sang it in English, and it was beautiful, and everyone loved it. It was awesome. It was really,
Kate
really
is
awesome.
actually on our 3rd episode, just throwing out season 1 here.
Yeah, she is.
So you can check her out. She's an amazing shamana here in Seattle.
Miss Katie. So long story short, I get up in the morning, and I'm just about to have a panic attack because I'm not ready for this vision quest. And I'm sitting there and I have to get all my sticks together and all my things. And Christine, my leader, looks at me and says, you know, Amanda, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this here. And a giant wave of relief fell through my body. And I was like, oh, thank God, I don't want to do it. So
was she reading the energy coming off of you, think?
Yeah. And she ended up telling me later that she's been going to these people's things for about 3 years and just started to feel welcome. And I was like, I don't do that. This is what's amazing about this whole trip, right? I just learned so much about me, myself, and how I want to interact with anything in this community. Is like, I don't earn someone's, it's okay to earn someone's trust, but to earn someone's welcoming and community, when the entire point, I'm sorry, in my opinion, about these plant medicines is like to open your heart and get to the point of life, which is like love, community, support, take care of the earth. So why are we waiting 3 years to give that out to people for free?
Mm-hmm. Why are you waiting 10 minutes?
Right. Why are we not hugging and loving? Why
aren't
we being nice and loving on each other right away?
Right away.
Yeah.
When people come to Gaia Sagrada, we hear an inkling of a car engine, and we start going, okay, everybody come outside. And the minute a foot hits the ground, you've got someone grabbing a bag and giving you a hug and flashing you a genuine smile. And that starts the healing.
It does.
And the openness and the magic at that place.
And the
why wouldn't you want that?
Everything. Yeah. I knew that this place wasn't for me when I was washing dishes one night because I was volunteering. I'm like, I'm not going to do the Vision Quest, but I'm going to volunteer and help cook and clean and whatever. So I was washing the dishes for everybody. I had some music on. I was really happy back there doing my dishes. And I was talking to a friend, of course, in English, because that's, there's a bunch of different languages being spoken there. And this guy violently kind of turns around at me and he's like, sister, you are laughing a lot. And you need to go to the mountain.
Wow.
When are you going to the mountain? You need so you give away, you're all in your mind, it is your mind. And I'm like, all right, yet another person, this is a common thread in my life, confusing my good personality and my laughter for stupidity and for ignorance. And I was like, no way, dude. And you know what? It's getting fewer and fewer, like the time in between when someone reacts strongly in a negative way toward me. When I was younger, I would maybe like mull over it and ask my friends and, feel bad about it for a few days. I'm like, what if they were right? And then it only took me like 10 minutes. And I was like, this guy has an issue. He's the one that has the problem. I'm having a good time laughing, enjoying life. And I was like, bro, maybe I don't need to go to the mountain to figure out that like, this is how you want to be anyway. Is like happy, engaged, loving, helping. Already doing it.
You go to the mountain.
I got it. And you know what that guy I found out over the next few days? Didn't talk to anyone, really lonely, trying super hard to like play the drum really loud. Just trying really hard, right? He was probably Shaman's best friend. I don't know. Like one of those types. So I was like, at the end of the day, that wasn't for me. It ended up being a really great idea to support my friend Adam, who had a wonderful vision quest. I'll kind of talk about that a little bit more later. And so after that, it was on to the south of Mexico, where I got to visit my favorite place I've ever been, which is San Cristobal de las Casas. It's in
Chiapas, Mexico.
Chiapas is another planet. It's a totally different, it's like the only state in Mexico that used to be its own country, yeah. Super Mayan, super ancient, in the mountains, gorgeous. Somehow that city is like ancient, modern. There's all this artwork and music and life.
Like a sexy ancient Aspen.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is. It's like a mountain sexy, but like ancient traditional, and not like, it's not at all gentrified or like tacky, it's not like hipstery Instagram-y.
But it's full of class.
Right.
Nonetheless.
And totally inexpensive, incredibly cheap.
There you go.
Dude, I swear I'm going to live there someday, because you can get a house to yourself for $200 per month. Why am I not living there? So from there, I take a break. I'm traveling around. I go to Palenque. I go to some ruins. I'm doing waterfalls. I'm doing tours. I'm meeting friends. I'm having sex with boys. Thank God.
Yeah.
I just did it
Dusting off them coochie cobwebs.
Yeah, after I left that place, I was like, peace on this place. I ain't sleeping on your rocks no more with your cranky ass people who won't teach me the songs. And oh, by the way, a little quick note on the ayahuasca. Turns out the next day it wasn't ayahuasca. It was peyote. And I should have drank a whole cup because it would have kept me up all night, which was the point. And I didn't.
Wow.
So I just didn't even know. Didn't even know what I was drinking at a ceremony. That's a good thing.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, not having that. So I was like, okay, that's not for me. It was very disappointing because I had been looking forward to doing this vision quest for quite a while. And, it was just a little like I felt like disillusionment a little bit,
This is where I worry about people that want to go down the path of taking plant medicine or really want to go through some radical healing, and they could end up at places like this, and it could turn them off forever.
I know.
I really hope that these places take better care of the medicine and better care of the people coming to use the medicine.
I absolutely feel the same way, and even kind of want to give some feedback about that. But in a way, it's kind of like, I consider this trip my kind of like Goldilocks trip, where it's like, is this one's too hot? This one's too cold.
Right.
This one's just right. Like, that's what it was.
That's so true. And you know what? There's tons of self-flagellating people trying to heal that only want to heal through pain, through sadness. Yeah. If it's not quiet, cold, dark, and no laughter, then it's not real. Yes. And those places are for them.
Perfect. That's exactly what that guy was saying. It's like, here we are quiet. We are solemn. We do not laugh because that means that you are being frivolous with life. We take things seriously. Spirit is serious. Medicine is serious business, and serious and laughter do not go together. And get out of here with that, your flippant spirit.
With your circles and your sparkles and
I had my rainbow dress. As the days went on, I got way more.
Did you know you wore a rainbow dress?
I was like, fuck y'all, y'all. I'm putting my braids in my rainbows, and I'm going to be laughing all the time.
Pistol the shit out of it, because that's who you are.
Of course I did. I said, I'm pistoling right out of here. So then we move on to Jamaica, right? I'm in Mexico, I'm loving Mexico, and I'm going to Jamaica to facilitate this magic mushroom retreat. Super excited. This place, I will say this about Jamaica. A little bit disappointed, if I'm being honest. If I'm giving it a fair review. I was looking, the first few days I was there, they had like the worst flood they've had since the 1970s, so that was obviously put a literal damper on things. It's just unfortunately because it is like a very, because of the history of the country and, the slaves being brought over from Africa, and there's still a lot of racial tension. And I will say this, it gave me so much empathy for understanding what it would feel like to be a minority. Like, this, obviously only the tiniest shred, right? But walking as like a white person through Negril, like I was kind of staying in a place that was like in the heart of Negril, like away from the touristy areas. Just the idea of being someone who's different, a different color from everyone else. Like, I hadn't felt anything like that in my life. And so it just gave me this thing of like, oh my gosh, is this what minorities feel like all the time? Just being so different. Like, just immediately people look at you and you are different, period. So that gave me,
maybe even on a subtle level, like, I should change. I should cover myself. I should not be here. I shouldn't be here.
I shouldn't be here. This is like their culture, their thing. Like, it's not really, that pressure was kind of crazy. And, I definitely felt the kind of like get out of here white girl feeling, and I get that. I get it. It's like, whether that was real or not, I was happy after a few days to be with my group. Our group was in the south of Jamaica, which is a little bit more the country, definitely away from like all the touristy anything area. It's more like private houses, small community, really sweet people. And so where the retreat was amazing. Now, this retreat was started by Eric Osborne, who we did a podcast with last season, Myco Meditations, and he comes at these retreats from a very much non-shamanic path. It even says on the website, this is not a shamanic retreat. This is not, a native healing retreat. This is a kind of more from a scientific perspective. It still is about healing, and it still is about like overcoming, issues in your life, of course, but in a very much, a very different way. So we didn't have ceremony. He wasn't very comfortable even saying that word. He wasn't even really comfortable saying journey. He preferred like trip or, so even saying the word like intentions and stuff, he's kind of coming around to that. It's definitely a newer retreat. And this was the first time he had more than 5 people. So we had 17 guests. So it was like way bigger than he had ever had before. But this place really made me realize like how much of the work I've been doing in this field. And the first day I did my improv and meditation class, which was fantastic. Everyone loved it.
Woo!
People mentioned and thanked me the entire retreat about how much that helped them. Like, so many people just said, like, I've never meditated before. Like, you were the first person that helped me ever meditate. And that is such a huge compliment. You've gotten that too, where you're like, wow, because we know how long you try before you kind of get it, right? You try for so long.
Right, that it takes someone to even understand it and why you'd even want to do it again.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that was a huge compliment. They loved the improv. It really brought everyone together, got to know each other's names, and just, it kind of like, later people were telling me, they're like, when we first had to do that thing, I was really not having it. I was not happy. And I was like, I know. I see the faces always of everyone. They're like, I want to run away. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
This sucks. I hate this. But what's funny is you look around and like everyone feels that way. So it almost connects you on like mutual hatred of what you're doing or something.
Yeah.
Like we're all embarrassed. We all don't want to do it. And then at the end, you're all kind of laughing like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we all just did that like ridiculous class, And everyone loved it, and they kept talking about it. So that was like started it off in like a really wonderful way. These mushroom trips, it was 4 mushroom trips in 10 days. So it was obviously, all of us were saying, even the leaders, the most amount of mushrooms we've ever done in such a short amount of time. Like I've never even done 4 mushroom trips in a year. So to do that many, and look, for me, I was a facilitator, so I was taking less than the guests, of course. But I still had some really powerful journeys for myself. And so this retreat, because it was modern, there was a few things that I noticed that I missed about ceremony. Like, everyone wasn't really together. We were kind of divided up into a few different houses. There wasn't any sort of intention setting, like when you took the medicine, it was encapsulated into, which is a much easier way, by the way, for your digestive system with psilocybin, is to grind and encapsulate the psilocybin mushrooms. It's so much easier on your stomach, I will say that. And people had incredible transformations, fantastic journeys, like overcoming depression and anxiety and family trauma, so much like beautiful healing. And I do have a podcast also coming up in season 2 where we talk to some people from the retreat. And for me, it was also where I had to kind of check in with myself and say, like this format is a little bit too loose for me. It's actually not traditional enough. It was welcoming, like everyone was warm and welcoming, but it didn't have kind of like, for instance, music. We didn't have any sort of like shamanic drumming or music at all. And that would be so weird. Drove me crazy. No, by the third one, I'm like, I'm just going to bring my drum and my rattle. Like, it's so strange for me to not have music as this beautiful healing way of like moving energy. Music moves so much energy around.
It's to cleanse the space. Like, it's not just like, pretty little background noise, pretty little music on, like a little, it's for the energetic healing and strengthening of the ceremony.
It is. It's so powerful. And, so that just brought that to my full attention. But again, like, this is the great thing about when you're in a place or anywhere where you're like, I don't know if I like this, right? I don't know if I like this about this person or this relationship or this place, is it brings up the things that you do love. Like, I didn't realize how much music and making music and singing music and playing it was so important to me before I went to this retreat. And now I've started to incorporate that more into my meditation practice. Like, I bring my drum with me to the beach. I drum a lot more in my practice to kind of get me into a meditative state. It just really helps me get into that state a lot faster. So, so things being like not perfect are always just lessons. That's all they really are. It's just like, this just shows me what I want. And
you better hope for things not being perfect so that you learn. And oh, by the way, nothing's perfect. So you better hope and be ready for and welcome. That's the big one, is welcome contrast, aka things not being perfect.
Yeah.
Because that's where I feel like we learn the most. And if you know how to laugh, which is a higher form of freaking operating, then you can go through those little idiosyncrasies and weird moments and laugh, like you not being able to roll the ceremony joint. What is
mine
it?
What was
is
a taco. Everyone else was a burrito, and mine was a taco. It wouldn't close.
Yours was a taco, dude.
It was. I did it wrong.
You did it wrong.
But then I just smoked it like a joint, and I was like, whatever. It's just tobacco. Whatever. I get it. My heart's in the right place.
Your heart's in the right place.
And that's what really always matters. And all of this, is my heart's in the right place. I just love this work. I can't believe, that, a year ago or 2 years ago, or even a few months ago, even a few weeks ago, probably when I'm in kind of a bad state of mind, I'll be like, I'm not sure what I'm doing on this path. And like, I'm not really a shaman, and I'm not really a this, and I'm not really a singer, and I'm not really a that. And like, what am I doing in this world? I'm just kind of like, flippy flapping around the world, going to these retreats. And then I really reflect, I take the time to reflect on the work that I'm doing and the impact that it's making and the feedback I get from people. telling them that like my class and my things like actually set the tone and like helped them for their entire retreat, and I was a massive part, or I was their favorite part of the retreat. And I was like, what other type of feedback or like adulation could I possibly want from any job ever, or anything than to be like, your help, you specifically, the things you've done and the work that you provided changed my life. I mean, I can't think of anything more rewarding than that. It's unbelievable when you hear that from someone. It's really, really unbelievable. And
I think a lot of the good things people do oftentimes don't have a set title just yet. Because they're from heart, they're from you, they're individual. Not everyone's beautiful gift has a name yet, or a job title yet, or a paycheck amount yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's where it gets hard with the where I've been home with my family for 3 weeks, which is about 2 weeks and 6 days too long.
You get one good day in there.
You do. You get one day, maybe two if you're lucky, maybe an overnighter. If you're lucky, fam. But with the, you have to really build up your like a shield, like a shield of love against like, what are you doing again, and like, what does that pay, and what is the job, and where do they something, and like all these traditional questions you're obviously going to get about your life, which I've been getting them for a while. But there is something to say about like having, you actually, Heather, told me this when I was explaining this trip before I went to my friends, that the tone and the words that I use to describe my life to other people sets the tone for how they're going to take it. So if I tell people like, I don't know, I'm just kind of like going around the world to these weird places and like, going to retreats and stuff and like working at them, that doesn't sound very respectful. Like no one's going to be like, wow, that's amazing. But when I tell people,
tell me more. Yeah,
they're just going to be like, oh, that sounds like you have no clue what you're doing. But when I say
it with
authority, or that I'm not convinced that it's worthy, right? That's what it sounds like. And I am, where I'm like, I am doing the work that I cannot imagine doing anything else, which is using my skills and talents to raise human consciousness through the use of shamanic practices and ancient plant medicines all over the world.
Amen.
That's what I'm doing.
And a little humor, comedy, and love.
Always. People say like laughter is the best medicine is not just some like jokey phrase that's like a meme. Laughter is actual medicine for your body and for your soul. It is proven, it is scientific, it is psychological.
And proven. You can feel it if you stop for 2 seconds and know what a break of laughter can do for a room when shit's awkward. For you when you come out of a good comedy or stand-up show, it's real.
It's on par with like really good sex and like any other thing in life, like getting a promotion, like anything. I swear, a good laughter heals. I feel like it heals almost everything that's happening in your body at that time.
And if you can find ways to do it more often and keep things light throughout your day, the big hammers that fall throughout life because we are human, they don't hurt as much, man. It's a padding.
I know.
Laughter, you got to keep it around. This is life.
Man.
It's the gift that gets us through the tough times. It is the gift that gets us through the tough times.
God.
It's not just some stupid thing that we do.
No,
it's not a fart.
It's not.
And farting's great, but it's not a fart.
No. Here's what I think is where people get a little bit confused with laughter. Like humans, obviously we've discovered this, like we do laugh for a very many different reasons, right? Like we laugh when we're uncomfortable. And I'm sure you've met people who like, they laugh after everything they say because it's like an anxious tick, right? Where they're like, yeah, I was going to go there, but I don't know. Like we do.
Or you sincerely crack yourself up. I laugh after most things I say.
Right, you do.
I just think I'm totally
yeah,
funny.
But you don't laugh after you say like awkward things. I'm not talking about you, of course, because we all like we have like genuine laughter. But and that's why even in comedy shows, like when things are awkward, we do laugh. Like it's just a natural thing we do. So we laugh for all these different reasons. But I think the people like this guy who was like, "Why are you laughing?" and you need to go to the mountain. He probably in his life only laughs when he's like uncomfortable or when he feels like he's maybe hiding something. So I think when he sees genuine laughter, he's like, oh, that girl's just faking her way through life because she's laughing at everything. And I was like, oh, no, like I'm rising above. I'm seeing the humor and like the human folly of life and how silly it all is. And, like that's like Osho and all of them are like laughter is the highest form. Osho said like if you expect to come and listen to me and not laugh, he's like you can't be in my presence because like that's what we're gonna do here. And I'm like, dang!
It's a space cleanser, buddy. You better hope somebody's laughing before you head out on a vision quest.
Come on,
you better hope someone's laughing.
You better hope someone's laughing. So it just gave me a deep appreciation of Gaia Sagrada, which I'm going back to in a few days for 6 months.
Yay, that's so exciting. Oh, I'm so inspired.
It's very chest-fired. I'm feeling very good about it. It's challenging, and it's a lot of work, but it's just, like I said, it's like the best work. It's really fulfilling. And there's going to be new people, all new volunteers, all new leaders, a few new shamans. So it's going to be it's going to be like season 2, Gaia Sagrada.
And our friend Jess, who is in one of our episodes on season 1, is going. So we've got family cruising in there. This is a long time coming. It's going to be amazing to interview Jess. We interviewed her before she went to Gaia Sagrada, and it'll be incredible to talk to her after and see a friend that we know super intimately go through this 2-week process.
That is going to be fantastic. Yeah. And I will interview her while I'm there. Before and absolutely. After, because she is going
Amanda's
going to
have so many great interviews coming out of Gaia Sagrada.
Definitely. We're going to make a whole series where we just have, I really want to do before, like the first day of the retreat and the last day, and just interview people, and you'll be able to hear in their voices, I guarantee you, the difference that this stuff makes. And that will be something else to look forward to in season 2. But what I wanted to mention is the second part of this episode is, since this one was all about me and my adventures, is going to be Heather's Seattle dating adventures over the last
Y'all think I just was hanging tight after a summer full of craziness, but I think I went on over 20 dates in the last few months. And I have a lot to talk about. If anyone out there is online dating, met someone, broke up with someone, let's talk. We've got
That's going to be very fascinating, because I've heard through a little bird called you that you're actually kind of dating someone.
I am 100% dating someone who's special.
Oh my god!
And not special, mentally retarded.
Oh, not special needs.
Never means to be seen. I'm totally kidding. He's special needs. I love him. No, he's special in the way of I like this dude, and it's exciting.
Wow!
And you know what? I always said it's a numbers game. And apparently it was.
Oh my gosh, it was. And it was a focus game, too, I hear.
It was a focused effort to meet someone amazing and to make sure that I was only dating people that were worthy of me, and I didn't fall into this trap of what if this is the last person? What if this is the best I can do? I kept focused, and I had intentions every time I went for a date. I woo dated, and it totally worked out. I met a really great dude.
So part 2 of episode 1 of season 2, that's confusing. Season 2, part 2 is going to be Heather talking about her woo dating and how it led to her special man. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm so excited.
What if it was a special woman? I was like, actually, I found myself in a woman. Could be. Who knows?
Could be. Yeah.
You know what's exciting about meeting somebody that you really like is you feel free to open yourself up to other possibilities. I remember, man, when we weren't dating anyone, our dads thought we were lesbians. I know we told this story somewhere else, but because I wasn't dating anyone and I hadn't had a boyfriend for a while, I was like, no, because I was like, that just seemed like this nuclear option that if I didn't meet someone, I'd have to be a lesbian. And at that time, we were so close-minded in our thought. But there is something about, dating someone that you like and having this mutual thing. You're like, whatever, I can do it. Nothing's safe inside a nice relationship.
Yeah, I could do it. It's no big deal.
I could do it. No big deal. Dating is a freaking roller coaster journey, and I'm really excited to bring that to you next week.
Yeah. We love you guys. We miss you guys.
Yes, so excited to be back.
Always comment on our YouTube videos, or if you're listening on iTunes, we love getting either messages or, if you can review us, if you want to send us a little Instagram picture that has a meme on it, maybe we'll laugh, maybe we won't. I don't know. We'll tell you. We'll tell you either way.
Interact. We've got a lot of stuff planned for this second season, and we're really excited you're along the ride. Tell your friends. It's kind of the way that it goes these days. It's word of mouth. If you like what we're doing, if you like a certain episode, send it out on your Facebook, send it out on your Instagram. Let us know. Let your friends know. Old school style. Thank you so much. We're back.